Welcome back to 10 Degrees Warmer. I'm Rob.
And I'm David.
We just spent 7 weeks in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, had a terrific time. We really enjoyed ourselves. But we thought we'd make a quick video with some tips of things we learned and experienced so that it would just be that much easier for you when you go.
The first thing you might be wondering about is where you want to stay when you get to Kuala Lumpur. Our recommendation is Bukit Bintang. That's the neighborhood we stayed in and we loved it. In fact, we met a lot of other travelers and pretty much everyone was staying in Bukit Bintang. It is the center of the city. It is where the Petronas Towers are and the KL Tower and tons of malls. It's where Jalan Alor is, the food street. And it is just to the west is Chinatown. And just beyond that are the Botanic Gardens. So there's a lot of things in that area that are easy to get to. Some people also like staying in Ampang, which is the neighborhood where there's embassies and that kind of thing.
A lot of expats who live there live out in that
live in that area. We also had some friends who were staying down in the Brickfields, which is the Little India neighborhood. And there's some things down there also. It's a lovely neighborhood, and I think you might enjoy that also. But our recommendation is Bukit Bintang.
So one thing that might help you decide which neighborhood you want to stay in is how you want to deal with public transportation. The good news in Kuala Lumpur is they do have a fairly extensive subway system that was very useful. But there are a few quirks to it. So when it was built, apparently from what we were told, there's multiple different lines. There's an MRT, there's an LRT, there's a monorail, there's the commuter line that goes out to the Batu Caves. And in recent years, they've made a very concerted effort to connect them all so you can transfer from one to another, which apparently you couldn't do in the past. So at this point, it's pretty good. You can get around, but you just have to kind of pay attention and learn where those transfer points are and which neighborhoods are better served. In Bukit Bintang, I think we had, if we walked to one, we could get to the LRT, the MRT, or the monorail from there. So it was pretty central. We enjoyed that. But different areas of the city are going to be a little bit different. Our biggest tip for using any of the subway system, though, is they have a subway card that you can load money onto so that it just makes it easier tapping in and out of the subway and not having to buy a token or whatever every time you get on. The trick is we found that there are many of the employees who work there, for some reason, are reluctant to sell them to foreigners. I don't really know why, but we talked to several other people who were kind of had the exact same experience as us. The first time we went up, they were out of them and didn't have any. That seems to be a common thing to say. Maybe it's true too, I don't know. But it took us a couple of tries, and pretty much everyone we talked to said it was the same story for them. Once you get one, though, it does just make things a lot easier. They cost, I think it was 15 RM, which is a little over $4. And that includes some of that stays on your card so that you can use it going forward. I think 5 RM of it or something. And then once you have it, they have booths in all the stations where you can go load more money on it. Another great thing about Malaysia is that they really do use a lot of English. And so all of the machines we went to, there was an English option to kind of walk us through. It did take us a minute to kind of figure out how much we wanted to put on and that kind of thing. But once we figured it out, it was pretty simple. And then we were just able to tap in and tap out everywhere that we went. So it's a good system.
Yes.
If you want another option, instead of Uber, in Kuala Lumpur and most of Southeast Asia, they use a system called Grab, which is basically the exact same thing. It is very easy to use. I don't know how we used to live before we had Uber. It has changed the world for the better, in my opinion. But the Grab system, you just have to download the app, use it the exact same as Uber, and fares around town were fairly inexpensive. So it wasn't total, it was more expensive than the subway. I mean, the subway could be like 50, 75 cents to get for a ride. So, I mean, obviously getting your own car is going to be more expensive than that. But depending on where you want to go, it might be a great option for you.
Yes. We'd also like to talk a little bit about transportation in and out of Kuala Lumpur. There's lots of options. There's the train, there's flying, but what we chose was the bus, and we really enjoyed it. Buses are pretty easy because there are a lot of options, and that makes it good because prices are lower and they leave frequently. Lots of options. So when we came to Kuala Lumpur, we left from Singapore and we took a bus. We used the Star Mart line. It was very easy. We bought our tickets ahead of time, hopped on the bus. They bring you across the border, and it's a very easy system. No worries. It dropped us off in Bukit Bintang, which is where we were staying. Very convenient, and the whole thing cost us $45 for both of us. We also took a trip down to Malacca one day. It was just an overnight trip. To go to the southern cities, you go to a bus station called the TBS station. There's a longer name, but I cannot pronounce it. So the TBS station, it's about 20 miles south of the city center. It takes a while to get there, so plan accordingly. When we got there, we bought our ticket at the station. And the people at the counter were super helpful, so it was very easy. Our tickets were less than $4 each way. Very easy, very comfortable, so we really recommend taking buses when you're in Malaysia.
So one of the first questions any modern traveler asks when they get to a new city is, how am I going to get connected? So I'll give you our story of getting SIM cards, which was pretty straightforward and easy. We went to a mall in Bukit Bintang. There is a electronics mall called Plaza Loyat. Really, you could probably go to any mall and they're going to have someone selling SIM cards, but we just went there to make it easy. And we went with a company called Hotlink. There are several different companies, of course, but we went with Hotlink, and it was pretty straightforward. We went up to the counter. The first girl that came over to help us, she was super nice. Like I said, English is fairly well spoken in Malaysia. But not everywhere. And this girl, I could tell she could speak some English, but I think she was just embarrassed. So she got a manager who came over, again, not fluent in English, but had enough we were able to kind of figure it out. And, that's kind of one of those things you just have to get used to when you travel. My feeling is that if we're traveling to your country, it is much more my responsibility to speak your language than it is your responsibility to speak English. So anytime anybody speaks any English, we're very grateful. But we were able to make it work even with a little bit of a language barrier. So it wasn't too hard. But we were able to purchase, you have to pay 10 RM for the actual SIM card, and then you buy your plan on top of that. The plans, I think they ranged from like 30 to 60 RM, depending on how fast you wanted your access. They all had unlimited data, which is what I wanted, but some have faster speeds if you're streaming a lot of video or something like that. We don't use a whole lot of data when we're out and about, mostly just when we're back in the apartment on the Wi-Fi anyway. So my plan altogether for the SIM card and the plan was about $16 US, and I had unlimited data for the month. It was really good service, even when we were out in the parks. Stuff just worked, and we didn't have any issues with that. Just know when you are in the store, so we bought the card from them, and then they took us to this machine where we actually picked our plan. And the machine, it took us a couple of tries to figure it out. It was in English, but just, you have to figure out their methodology of how it works. So it did take us a couple tries. And then the funny thing is when we went to pay, like in America, we're used to the little, you put money in a vending machine and there's a little slot and it sucks it in. Here it was like this little door opened, and it was just like a little hole, and you just put your money in the hole, and then the lid closed, and somehow, I don't know how it counted it. Like we had different bills in there. It was all very odd, but it worked. So that was okay. If you do want to do something a little bit simpler, you can get eSIMs. They're the big thing now. I think we looked at a company called Airlo, and they have monthly plans that range anywhere from $10 to $40 a month. They are not unlimited data though, and so you're paying for the data that you use. So if you just wanted the convenience of doing it from home and you're familiar with how much data you use in a month, that might be an option for you too. But we were pretty happy with the SIM card. You know, it took us half an hour in the store, and then we were kind of set no matter what happened with our data. So those are our tips for Kuala Lumpur. We hope you found them useful and will make your next trip to Kuala Lumpur just a little bit easier. If you did enjoy this video or get anything out of it, we do appreciate when people hit that subscribe button. It really helps our growing channel out. We will release new videos every Sunday, so we will be back next week with some more content on Kuala Lumpur. It started out strong.
It started out strong. From the top. Okay.
From the top. No.
So close.